Everyone at the pool party was laughing when they pushed the young waitress straight into the water. Her uniform was soaked. Her face burned with embarrassment. But before she could climb out, a millionaire stood up from his table and shouted, "Stop laughing. You have no idea who you just humiliated." The entire pool went silent. Because the waitress wasn't who they thought she was, the music was loud, the pool lights were glowing, and dozens of wealthy guests were laughing beneath the warm evening sky. But nobody was laughing harder than the group surrounding the pool. At the center of their attention stood Maya Carter, a 24-year-old waitress holding a silver tray with trembling hands. "Come on, Maya," one of the guests mocked. "Smile. You're ruining the party." Maya forced a polite smile. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I'll bring your drinks right away." She turned to leave. Then someone grabbed her arm. Before she could react, another guest shoved her from behind. Splash! Maya fell straight into the swimming pool. Her tray flew through the air. Glasses shattered against the marble floor. For a moment, there was complete silence. Then everyone burst out laughing. Maya surfaced, gasping for breath. Her black uniform was soaked against her body. Her hair covered her face. She looked around desperately, hoping someone would help her. Nobody did. Instead, phones came out. Someone started recording. "Look at her," a man shouted. "The waitress can swim." More laughter followed. Maya slowly reached the edge of the pool and pulled herself out. Her hands were shaking. "I didn't do anything to you," she whispered. The woman who had grabbed her earlier rolled her eyes. "Don't be so dramatic. It was just a joke." Maya looked down at the broken glasses scattered across the floor. "I need to get back to work." She tried to walk away. Then a deep voice came from across the pool. "Stop." The laughter suddenly disappeared. Everyone turned. A tall man in a perfectly tailored black suit was standing beside the pool. His name was Adrien Blake, one of the richest businessmen in the city. He had been sitting quietly at a private table all evening. But now his expression had completely changed. He looked at Maya. Then he looked at the people who had pushed her. "Who did that?" Nobody answered. Adrien stepped forward. "I asked who pushed her." The woman raised her hand nervously. "It was me, but—" Adrien interrupted. "Apologize." She laughed awkwardly. "To her?" "Yes. To her. But she's just a waitress." Adrien's eyes hardened. "That is exactly why you think you can treat her this way." Maya stood frozen. She didn't understand why this millionaire cared. Adrien walked toward her and removed his expensive jacket. He placed it gently around her shoulders. "You're freezing." Maya looked at him. "Thank you, sir, but I can't accept this." "You can." His voice softened. "What's your name?" "Maya." "Last name?" She hesitated. "Carter." Adrien suddenly stopped. For the first time that evening, something changed in his face. His eyes narrowed. "Carter?" Maya nodded. "Yes." Adrien stared at her for several seconds. Then he looked at the small silver necklace around her neck. It had a tiny crescent-shaped pendant. His face went pale. "Where did you get that?" Maya instinctively touched the necklace. "This?" "Yes. My mother gave it to me." "What's your mother's name?" Maya looked confused. "Why? Please." She slowly answered. "Evelyn Carter." Adrien took a step backward. The color disappeared from his face. Evelyn Carter. That name hadn't been spoken in his life for more than 20 years. A woman who had once worked beside him. A woman who had disappeared after a mysterious accident. A woman who had left behind a little girl. A little girl Adrien had spent years trying to find. Maya noticed his reaction. "Sir, are you okay?" Adrien didn't answer. Instead, he looked directly into her eyes. "How old are you?" 24. "When were you born?" Maya gave him the date. Adrien's breathing changed. It was the exact date he remembered. The date Evelyn had told him she was expecting a child. But there was one problem. Adrien had always been told that Evelyn's baby had died. He slowly turned toward his assistant, Daniel, who had been standing nearby. "Call my lawyer." Daniel looked confused. "Right now?" "Right now." Maya stepped forward. "Sir, I don't understand what's happening." Adrien looked at her. For the first time, the millionaire looked genuinely shaken. "I think," he said quietly, "someone lied to both of us." The party had become completely silent. Nobody was laughing anymore. The same people who had mocked Maya were now staring at her. The woman who had pushed her whispered, "Who is she?" Adrien looked at Maya's necklace again. Then he said something that made the entire room freeze. "Your mother didn't die the way you were told." Maya's eyes widened. "What?" Adrien lowered his voice. "And if I'm right?" He looked toward the guests. "The people who destroyed your mother's life may still be standing in this room." Maya stared around at the wealthy strangers. For the first time that night, she wasn't thinking about the humiliation. She was thinking about her mother. And about the secret she had never known existed. Maya stood completely still. The noise of the party had disappeared. Even the music had stopped. All she could hear was Adrien's last sentence repeating inside her head. Your mother didn't die the way you were told. Maya shook her head. No. That's impossible. Adrien looked at her carefully. I know this is a lot to hear. My mother died when I was 6. That is what you were told. Maya's eyes filled with tears. My grandmother raised me after that. She told me my mother was killed in an accident. Adrien nodded slowly. Evelyn never wanted you to believe she abandoned you. Maya stared at him. You knew my mother? Adrien took a breath. Yes. How? Before he could answer, an older man approached from behind. Adrien. Everyone turned. It was Victor Hale, the owner of the mansion and one of the most influential businessmen at the party. His expression was tense. You need to leave, Victor said. Adrien didn't move. Not until I get answers. Victor glanced at Maya. You don't know what you're talking about. Adrien smiled coldly. I know exactly what I'm talking about. Victor lowered his voice. 20 years ago, Evelyn Carter stole confidential company documents and disappeared. Maya looked shocked. My mother was a thief? No, Adrien said immediately. Victor interrupted. She betrayed everyone. Adrien stepped closer. You're still lying. The room became silent again. Victor looked toward the other guests. This is a private matter. Adrien shook his head. It stopped being private when your friends threw an innocent woman into a pool. Maya looked at Victor. Did you know my mother? Victor hesitated. Yes. What happened to her? Victor's face became expressionless. She made terrible choices. Maya's voice trembled. That's not an answer. Adrien stepped beside her. Because he doesn't want you to know the truth. Victor glared at him. Be careful, Adrien. Adrien smiled. I've been careful for 20 years. He reached into his jacket and pulled out his phone. I have records. Victor's expression changed. Maya noticed. What records? Adrien looked at her. Your mother's employment records. Bank transfers. Legal documents. And a photograph. He opened a photograph on his phone and showed it to Maya. It was an old picture. A younger Adrien stood beside Evelyn. Evelyn was smiling. And in her arms was a newborn baby. Maya's hand flew to her mouth. That's me. Adrien nodded. Yes. Maya stared at the photograph. But why have I never seen this? Because someone made sure you wouldn't. Suddenly, a voice came from the back of the room. That's enough. Everyone turned. An elegant older woman was standing near the staircase. Her name was Margaret Hale. Victor's mother. Maya recognized her immediately. Margaret had been the woman who laughed when Maya fell into the pool. She had even told everyone to keep recording. Now her face looked different. Fearful. Adrien noticed. You. Margaret stared at him. You should have left this alone. Adrien's expression hardened. I tried. Margaret's eyes moved toward Maya. You have no idea what your mother did. Maya stepped forward. Then tell me. Margaret remained silent. Tell me what she did. Maya's voice echoed through the room. Margaret finally said. She tried to expose us. Adrien's eyes narrowed. Who is us? Margaret looked at Victor. Then back at Maya. Your mother discovered that money was being stolen from the company. Maya's breathing stopped. How much? Millions. Adrien added quietly, and Evelyn found the evidence. Maya looked at him. Then why was she blamed? Adrien's jaw tightened. Because the people stealing the money had more power than she did. Victor suddenly shouted. Enough. He walked toward Maya. You need to leave this house. Maya didn't move. No. Victor looked surprised. I said leave. Maya wiped her tears. My whole life, everyone told me my mother was a liar and a thief. She looked directly at him. Tonight, I found out that may have been a lie. Adrien stood beside her. Victor's face became darker. You don't understand what you're getting yourself into. Maya answered quietly. Maybe not. Then she looked at Adrien. But I want the truth. Adrien nodded. You deserve it. He turned to Daniel. Did you bring the file? Daniel opened his briefcase. Yes. He handed Adrien a thick folder. Adrien opened it. Inside was a copy of an old police report. He handed it to Maya. She read the first page. Then her face went pale. The report stated that Evelyn Carter had died in a car accident 20 years earlier. But underneath the official report was another document. A medical record. Maya's hands began shaking. This says? She couldn't finish. Adrien took the paper. Evelyn survived the accident. Maya looked up. What? She was alive when she left the hospital. Then where did she go? Adrien looked toward Victor and Margaret. Neither spoke. Then Daniel suddenly checked his phone. Adrien. What? We found something. Daniel turned the screen toward him. A bank account was opened under Evelyn Carter's name 3 weeks after her supposed death. Maya's heart pounded. Who opened it? Daniel looked at her. We don't know. Adrien stared at the screen. Then another notification appeared. A new message had arrived. Unknown number, stop digging into Evelyn Carter's past. Adrien's expression changed. Maya saw the message. Someone knows we're investigating. Adrien locked his phone. Yes. He looked around the mansion. And they're watching us right now. At that exact moment, one of the security cameras above the pool suddenly turned toward Maya. Nobody noticed. Except Margaret. She quietly walked away from the crowd. And made a phone call. She's here, Margaret whispered. A man's voice answered. Does Adrien know? Margaret looked back at Maya. Yes. There was a long silence. Then the man said, then we have a problem. Margaret's voice dropped. No. She stared at Maya. We have to finish what we started 20 years ago. Maya couldn't sleep that night. She sat in the back seat of Adrien's car, staring through the window as the city lights passed by. Her mind was filled with questions. If her mother had survived the accident, where had she gone? Why had everyone lied? And most importantly, was she still alive? Adrien sat beside her in silence. Finally, Maya broke down. You knew my mother. Yes. Were you close? Adrien looked out the window. She was my best friend. Maya looked at him. Just a friend? Adrien hesitated. We loved each other. Maya's eyes widened. Then why weren't you there? Adrien's expression became painful. Because I was told she died. He explained that 20 years earlier, Evelyn had discovered millions of dollars disappearing from Victor Hale's company. She had collected evidence and planned to take it to the authorities. But before she could, her car crashed. Adrien had received a call saying Evelyn and her baby were dead. He had believed it. I searched for you, he said. But every record said you were gone. Maya touched her necklace. My grandmother gave me this. Adrien nodded. That necklace belonged to your mother. Suddenly, Daniel's phone rang. He answered. Hello? His expression immediately changed. Adrien, you need to hear this. He put the call on speaker. A man's voice said. Stop looking for Evelyn. Adrien stood. Who are you? You know exactly who I am. The call ended. Maya looked frightened. Who was that? Adrien didn't answer. Instead, he told Daniel to trace the number. Minutes later, Daniel returned. It was a temporary number. Adrien frowned. Anything else? Yes. Daniel placed a file on the table. We found an old property connected to Evelyn. Maya leaned forward. Where? Outside the city. Adrien looked at her. We're going there. The next morning, they arrived at a small abandoned house surrounded by trees. Maya stepped out of the car. This place looks familiar. Adrien looked surprised. You've been here? I don't know. She walked toward the front door. Her hand touched the old wooden frame. Suddenly, a memory flashed through her mind. A woman's voice. Maya, whenever you're scared, remember that I love you. Maya stepped backward. She began crying. My mother said that. Adrien placed a hand on her shoulder. Maybe you remember more than you think. Daniel unlocked the door. Inside, dust covered everything. There was an old kitchen, a broken table, and a small bedroom. Maya walked into the bedroom. On the wall was a faded drawing of a little girl holding her mother's hand. Underneath it was one word. Maya. She covered her mouth. This was my room. Adrien looked around. How? Maya didn't know. Then she noticed something beneath the floorboard. She knelt down. There's something here. Daniel helped lift the board. Inside was a metal box. Adrien opened it. There were photographs, bank statements, and handwritten notes. But one envelope immediately caught Maya's attention. Her name was written on it. For my daughter, Maya. Her hands trembled. She opened it. The letter began. My sweet Maya. If you're reading this, then someone finally told you the truth. Maya couldn't continue. Adrien gently took the letter and read it aloud. Evelyn explained that she had discovered Victor and Margaret were stealing money from the company. But the theft was only part of the secret. They had created fake accounts and moved the money into offshore companies. When Evelyn threatened to expose them, they threatened her child. That's why she disappeared. She believed staying away from Maya was the only way to keep her daughter alive. Maya cried silently. Then Adrien noticed another page. This isn't over. He continued reading. Evelyn had written that she left evidence with someone she trusted. A person named Samuel Reed. Maya looked confused. Who is Samuel Reed? Adrien's face suddenly changed. I know him. Who is he? He was the detective assigned to your mother's accident. Daniel quickly searched the name. Then he stopped. Adrien. What? Samuel Reed disappeared 17 years ago. Maya looked at him. Disappeared? Daniel nodded. No records after that. Adrien looked at the letter again. At the bottom was an address. A small apartment building across town. They drove there immediately. But when they arrived, the apartment was empty. The landlord told them Samuel had lived there years ago. He left one thing behind, the landlord said. What? A box. The landlord returned with an old cardboard box. Inside was a small recorder. Adrien pressed play. Static filled the room. Then Evelyn's voice came through. If anyone finds this recording, Victor Hale is not the only person involved. Maya froze. Evelyn continued. There is someone inside the police department helping him. The recording suddenly became distorted. Then another voice appeared. A man's voice. You should never have recorded this. A loud crash followed. The recording ended. Maya stared at Adrien. Who was that? Adrien looked at Daniel. Can you identify the voice? Daniel nodded. I'll try. Before he could do anything, his phone buzzed. A message appeared. You have 1 hour to leave this investigation. Below it was a photograph. Maya's heart stopped. The photograph showed her standing outside the abandoned house. Someone had been watching them. Adrien looked toward the apartment window. Get Maya back to the car. Daniel moved immediately. But before they reached the door, they heard footsteps in the hallway. Someone was coming. Adrien motioned for them to stay quiet. The footsteps stopped directly outside. Then the door handle slowly began to turn. Maya held her breath. The door opened. A woman stepped inside. Maya stared at her face. She couldn't breathe. The woman looked at Maya. Her eyes filled with tears. Then she whispered the words Maya had spent 18 years wishing she could hear. My baby. Maya's knees nearly gave out. Because the woman standing in front of her was Evelyn Carter. Maya couldn't move. She stared at the woman standing in the doorway. Her face was older than the photographs, her hair streaked with gray, and there were years of pain visible in her eyes. But Maya knew her. Somewhere deep inside, she knew. Mom? Evelyn covered her mouth as tears rolled down her cheeks. My baby. Maya ran toward her. They held each other tightly, both crying. For 18 years, Maya had believed her mother was dead. Now she was finally standing in her arms. I thought you were gone, Maya whispered. I wanted to come back, Evelyn said. Every single day. Adrien watched them silently. Then Evelyn looked at him. Adrien. He stepped forward. Evelyn. They stared at each other for several seconds. You believed I was dead, she said. I did. They made sure you believed it. Adrien's jaw tightened. Victor. Evelyn nodded. Victor, Margaret, and someone inside the police department. Daniel stepped forward. We found the recording. Evelyn looked worried. Then they know. They already know, Adrien said. Suddenly, headlights appeared outside the apartment. Evelyn's face changed. They found us. Adrien immediately told everyone to leave through the back entrance. They escaped through the alley and drove to Adrien's private office. Once inside, Evelyn finally explained everything. After the accident, she survived but was badly injured. Victor's people found her in the hospital. They threatened to kill Maya if Evelyn went to the police. So Evelyn disappeared. For years, she lived under another name while secretly collecting evidence. I couldn't come back without proof, she said. Maya wiped her tears. Why didn't you contact me? Evelyn looked heartbroken. Because they were watching you. She explained that every time she tried to get close, someone appeared. She had secretly followed Maya's life from a distance. She knew about her school. Her first job. Even the day Maya graduated. But I never touched your life because I was afraid they would use you against me. Maya hugged her again, then Adrien placed the old documents on the table. We have enough evidence now. Daniel nodded. And I identified the voice from the recording. Everyone looked at him. It was Detective Thomas Gray. Evelyn closed her eyes. He was the officer Victor paid 20 years ago. Adrien immediately contacted federal investigators. Within hours, the evidence was delivered. Bank records. Forged documents. Police reports. The original accident files. And Evelyn's recordings. Everything was finally exposed. But Victor wasn't finished. That evening, he arrived at Adrien's office with Margaret. You think this ends here? Victor shouted. Adrien stood calmly. No. Victor pointed at Maya. You destroyed everything because of her. Maya stepped forward. No. Her voice was steady. You destroyed everything because you thought nobody would ever discover what you did. Victor laughed bitterly. You have no idea how powerful I am. Maya looked at him. Maybe not. Then the office doors opened. Federal investigators entered. Victor's smile disappeared. One investigator held up a warrant. Victor Hale, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. Margaret tried to leave. Another investigator stopped her. She was arrested as well. Later, Detective Thomas Gray was arrested after investigators found financial records proving he had accepted payments from Victor for years. The truth that had been buried for 2 decades was finally exposed. The money stolen from the company was recovered. Evelyn's name was cleared. And the official accident report was corrected. But there was one more thing Adrien wanted to do. He returned to the pool where everything had started. The mansion was empty now. The people who had laughed at Maya were gone. Adrien stood beside her. You don't ever have to work here again. Maya smiled. I know. He handed her a folder. She opened it. Inside was a scholarship and funding agreement for a new community program. What is this? A restaurant and hospitality training center. Maya looked at him. Why? Because you told me once that you wanted to own your own restaurant. Maya laughed through her tears. I said that when I was 17. I remembered. Evelyn walked toward them. For the first time, Maya had her mother beside her. She looked at the pool. This is where everything changed. Maya smiled. No. She looked at her mother. This is where the truth started. Adrien smiled. Months later, Maya opened her own restaurant. Evelyn worked beside her. Adrien became an investor, but Maya insisted on building the business herself. The restaurant became successful. But Maya never forgot what happened that night. Whenever someone asked how she became successful, she always gave the same answer. I was humiliated in front of everyone. She would pause. And that's when I discovered my mother was alive, my past wasn't what I thought, and the people laughing at me were hiding secrets of their own. Years later, Maya returned to the same mansion. She stood beside the pool for a moment. Then she smiled. She no longer remembered the laughter. She remembered the moment she chose to stand up. Because sometimes, the worst moment of your life isn't the end of your story. Sometimes, it's the moment your real story finally begins. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss our next emotional story, and don't forget to tell us in the comments, ***, where are you watching from, ***.